Good morning, everyone, from the middle of Wyoming. And I mean the middle. The actual geographical center of Wyoming is only about 5 miles over there, so I'm more or less right in the middle of the state. I drove out here last night, took about 5 or 6 hours to get out here. I camped about half an hour away, and then this morning I drove out to the first destination of the day. This place is called Castle Gardens, and there's a trail that wanders a little bit through the rocks, through the little short cliffs out here. This is the first day of roughly a 2-week trip. Not exactly sure how long it'll be, somewhere in the 10 to 14 day range, I guess we'll see. And the ultimate plan is to visit the upper Midwest, so Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota. The original plan when I initially planned this trip was to also go to Canada, was to come back through Canada, but for a variety of reasons that I won't get into, I'm not going to be able to do that on this trip, so I'll have to save that for another trip. But still, should be a really fun trip. Today I'm driving all the way across Wyoming. I might be getting into Nebraska by the end of the day, so should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be seeing and doing a lot of things that I've never done before. I've never been to these areas, these parts of Wyoming before, so I'm excited. This place is called Castle Gardens, and it's notable for its unique Native American rock art. I think there are multiple panels, but for better or for worse, this panel is behind a barbed wire, or a chain link fence rather. But let me see if I can still show you. Do you see those circles? It's hard to see. So it rained a ton yesterday and last night, and so the rock is wet here. This dark is wet. So it's harder to see than I think it otherwise would be. But there are circles there that are petroglyphs. And I saw a couple others around the corner here. These. Now there's a lot of more modern graffiti here. Like here's one, Mary from 2018. You should know better, Mary. But there's a lot of that stuff around, and it might be overlaid on top of this stuff, or I'm not entirely sure, but I read something interesting at the trailhead. So apparently the Native Americans would take wet animal hide, put it over the rock to soak the rock to get it wet and a little bit softer. And then they would take a rock in their hand and kind of scrape or plane the face of the cliff here to make it smooth. And then they would take a bone tool to make the carvings here. Now again, this might be graffiti, more modern graffiti here. Like this looks like it's crossed out. I don't know, hard to tell. And apparently these were painted also, although any paint has long since been worn away here. Let's walk around and see if there are any others to spot here. Oh, got another chain link fence. I'm guessing there's more right here. They were kind enough to make a bigger hole in the chain link fence to stick a camera through it or stick your face through. We have some animals here. And some humanoid figures. And then next to that, another panel with just a ton of figures on it. Very interesting style, very unique style. I haven't seen many petroglyphs like this before. And this panel here is the one that I saw pictures of online. I think this is the most impressive panel here. It has just a ton of circles on it. I'm back at the start now, and there's this nice little interpretive display, and I especially like one thing they say here. It says rock art occurs at places where events are commemorated and where people go to seek and record their visions. The sign also said that those circles were shields, which I thought was interesting. I'm not going to drive about 45 minutes or an hour to the next spot that's on my list, and if I see anything interesting along the way, I'll let you know. I think I mentioned earlier that it rained a lot yesterday and last night, and just this entire area, the roads in this entire area are just soaked, and my car is filthy, it's caked in mud. I can barely see out of the windshield. I nearly got stuck a couple of times in the mud coming here from the rock art site. And anyway, I'm back on paved roads here, and I'm at a place now called Hell's Half Acre. Basically a roadside attraction, a roadside stop. There's a big parking lot just over here. This is exactly the kind of scenery you'd see in southern Utah, or maybe in Badlands National Park, and it's really spectacular. It really extends almost 360 degrees around me here. The view is just incredible here. Vast areas of Badlands out here. And check out this guy right here, that hoodoo. And I think there's more over here that we can see if I am able to get up there without sliding off to my death. Yep, the view and the rock formations continue out this way. What a neat place. Normally I would try to find a way to get down in here and hike around maybe a little bit, but I mean, with all the mud, I would just get stuck down there and they'd find my petrified body in 10,000 years. One interesting thing about this place is that this is actually a buffalo jump site, or a bison kill site. The Native Americans would drive the buffalo here and over the cliffs in this area to easily kill them for food and to use their hides and everything. And I think I'm gonna put my other lens on, my really big zoom lens, and give you a closer look at some of the more interesting parts of this place here. And I now need to do some mud maintenance on my car here. This is as clean as I can get the windshield now. I'll need to stop at a car wash, or at least a gas station in town in a minute here and wipe that off. But then I also have just clumps of mud back behind the tires here, and I want to get rid of those before they turn into some sort of hardened dirt, concrete mix. So let me get my little shovel out. Kind of hard to tell where the mud stops and the car begins. All right, it's an hour later. Check out the view here. This is Casper, Wyoming. This is the second largest city in Wyoming. Population of 55 or 60,000 people, somewhere in that range. Whenever possible, I like to get views of a city, and here there's this big old mountain just south of Casper. It's called Casper Mountain. And so I drove up here to get the view. I'm not going to do much in town here in Casper, but the one thing I am going to do is right below me here. So I'm on the mountainside, and below me, like over here somewhere, is a little hike that I wanted to do. All right, so this trail, it's shorter than I thought it was. I mean, I think it'll take me literally just a couple of minutes of hiking to get to where I want to get to, which is a waterfall. I can see it through the trees here. It's called Garden Creek Falls or Garden Creek Waterfall. And I think that'll do it as far as things in and around Casper. I'm not much of a city person on these trips. You know, there's not a whole lot I want to do in the town of Casper. I'm really intent on heading east, seeing some interesting stuff in southeastern Wyoming, and then heading into Nebraska today. So I might get a bite to eat, but otherwise, really fun little hike. Casper, pretty little town as far as the situation goes, as far as its location goes. It might warrant further visits in the future, but for now I'm happy to keep going on down the road. So I'm basically making my way across the state of Wyoming 45 minutes or an hour at a time, and I'm about 45 minutes from Casper now, and I'm at a little natural wonder here. This is called Ayers Natural Bridge. Let's go get a closer look. This is in kind of a developed park. I think it's private property, but they let people come here, and there's a pretty little park and picnic tables and benches and everything. I think this is about 40 or 50 feet across and maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 feet high. Then here's the view from underneath, looking up. Again, a really pretty, pleasant spot here. I think that in the middle of the summer, it would be pretty hectic. A lot of people here cooling off in the water, but it's a cooler day in the fall now, or in the spring rather. And there aren't too many people around. There is a little trail that goes up to the top. So let's go explore that. Here's what it looks like on top. It's 15 or 20 feet across. There's a sign right here saying, "Don't throw rocks." That's good life advice, I think. And here's the view looking off the one side and looking down the canyon. Or up the canyon, I guess. This is an old power plant. I read online that this was constructed in the early 1900s, but then it was never really used because the company went out of business before they could get it up and running. And then on the other side, the view here isn't quite as good. It's not as dramatic of a drop off here. It kind of slopes down, but this is looking up the canyon or down the canyon, whatever, you know what I mean. Beautiful red rock here. Again, doesn't really look like Wyoming with that red rock, does it? One interesting little factoid about this bridge is that it's considered the first Wyoming tourist attraction. It's only about a mile south of the Oregon Trail, and so thousands of immigrants who were crossing the plains, crossing the country to go to Oregon and California and Utah and parts beyond, came this way, decided to take the quick detour to the bridge here. And speaking of the Oregon Trail, I'm actually going to go visit some Oregon Trail sites now. Again, going to hop another hour, maybe an hour and a half on down the road to my next destination. Actually a series of destinations that I'm going to be hitting in pretty rapid succession here, all related to the Oregon Trail. I'm now at a place called Guernsey Ruts, and I think a couple times on this channel I've shown some Oregon Trail ruts, but they don't look very impressive. I think these particular ruts are the most impressive ruts on the Oregon Trail. These are ruts made in solid rock from over a couple decades of iron shod wheels and animal hooves wearing away into the rock here. And here are the ruts. Isn't this amazing? This is like cutting into 5 feet of rock over here. And the wagon trail followed the river over this way, but because there was a cliff along the side of the river there, the immigrants had to go up and over, and this was the easiest spot to cross at. And so as opposed to other places that were very flat along the trail, this was basically the one spot that was passable. And so at this one spot were thousands and thousands of wagons. How cool is that? And then here's another section where you can clearly see the 2 parallel tracks here, the 2 ruts. That really is amazing. This section is a little bit less dramatic, but you can still see the ruts in the solid rock here. This is a soft rock. I don't know what kind of rock this is, but it's not like granite or anything. But still, I mean, it's definitely rock. And next up on the tour of Oregon Trail sites is this cliff right here. It's called Register Cliff, and the westward travelers would carve their name on the cliff here. This is the same kind of rock as what we just saw that the wagon ruts were worn away into. So it's a soft rock, and apparently there are thousands of names here dating back to the 1820s. I think that's what I read. Let's see if we can find a few. Here's a pretty prominent one from 1840, but as I pull back here, you can see this entire wall, this entire cliff, this section of it anyway, it's just covered in hundreds and hundreds of names. Every flat surface has a name on it. And some of these are newer than others. Like here's one from last year, 2021, Jose and Erica. Here's one from 2000. With some of these, it's hard to know which century we're talking about here. Like if it just says a name and then 77, is that 1877? Is that 1977? This one's neat. It says Tex Sarah, 1889. The Oregon Wagon Train. Wagon Master. And then just down the road from Register Rock, which is this right here, is this marker. This is a Pony Express station marker. It says Pony Express Station 1860 to 1861. And I'm guessing this one was called Center Star. At least that's what it says on this post here. Of course, the Pony Express was the short-lived but famous cross-country mail delivery system where there would be relays basically of horse riders taking the mail across the country. And that came to an end when the Transcontinental Telegraph Line was created. And then just down the hill from the Pony Express marker is this little beach on the North Platte River. If you squint and use your imagination, you can almost see some wagons crossing the river over there, can't you?
Good morning.
I'm in Nebraska. I just woke up. It's early. It's like, I don't know what time it is because I'm right on the Mountain Time Central Time border, so I'm not exactly sure what time it is, but it's before sunrise. The sun hasn't even come up yet. Let me show you the campsite. Believe it or not, this is actually national forest. This is called, I think it's called Samuel R. McElvey National Forest, something like that. My phone is updating right now, so I can't check the exact name, but really surprisingly beautiful area. I kind of stumbled across this awesome place to camp in the dark. It was about an hour after sunset last night when I pulled in here. It's beautiful. Just wide open, green, and it has all these little hills nearby. And these are actually sand dunes. These are stabilized sand dunes. The grass on here has stabilized the dunes. This area of Nebraska is called the Sand Hills, and it covers about a quarter of the state. A quarter of the state is covered in these low, rolling hills. What a beautiful place. Now, I don't know if you can hear it. I'll be quiet in a second here, but the birds are chirping. Just a gorgeous morning. I have to admit that I'm kind of enchanted by this part of Nebraska. Western Nebraska, northern Nebraska. I'm in like north central Nebraska-ish right now. And as I was driving here yesterday, it's so new and different to me. There are these just like little isolated towns surrounded by miles and miles of farmland. And it's just beautiful, and there was no traffic, there were no other cars, I couldn't see any people as I was driving through these towns. It was kind of a surreal experience, but one that I really enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think, let me know what your favorite part was, let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.